All right, we will hopefully be taking a quick look at how to do roads, and I will do my best to keep this just a few minutes long and not ramble too much like I have in my other videos. So when you bring when you have your world and you bring your height map in, you probably imported roads along with that. That's a whole different topic. Piano Man's videos, which I do have linked in the description, they cover a lot of that. I will not be going over how to import roads. I'm going to simply be showing you how to place roads down manually, which will also help you with how to shape them and move them around. So one thing I wanted to go over real fast, the further out you are from your slat map, you see it, and then the closer you are as you get into it, it disappears. So if you don't want that to happen, you can select your terrain entity, go to middle distance max, and bring it to, we'll just see what does that look. Just keep bringing it down until you see what you want to see. So we're going to kind of use this as a roadway here, and this way we can actually place them a little bit more along this line. I'm cutting this in because I forgot to mention it. I like to have my roads in their own layer, and how you do that is if you right click on your world up here, you can see create folder and create layer. I already have a folder, so I'm going to right click on the folder and I'm going to create a layer, and I like to call it roads. And then I'm just going to move these in here. And then if you double click on the layer, it'll apply anything else you put down into that layer. So try to keep organized. It helps you find things later on. You can also be in this entity select filter. So these are pretty self-explanatory. Select from all layers, select from active layer only, or select from inactive layer. If you have it on all layers, no matter what layer the item is in, you can click on it. If it's select from active layer only, you can only click on things that are within the layer you have active. Same thing here, select from inactive layers only. So these are great for if you're not trying to mess with things that are not in other layers. I tend to keep mine in from all layers, but try to keep organized. If you put these in a wrong layer, you can click and drag it up to the correct layer. Or if you click on the item, you can do Control L, and you can choose what layer you want to move it to. Or you can right click on it and then set layer, and it shows you the shortcut key here. Set layer and move it from there. So if we want to move it back to test, there it just did that. So Control L, roads. All right. Check out my video on organizing if you have any more questions about this. Sorry for cutting this in. I know it's a little weird, but want to make sure you see that. Thank you. So we're going to be using the vector tool, which is, which one is it? There we go. Vector tool. So if you hover over it, it shows you that V is the shortcut key. And that shows you how little I use that option, because I always use the keyboard shortcut. As I've said before in my other videos, this looks different than what you are seeing probably. Your vector tool tab is probably down here. I clicked and dragged that, and it is stuck up here, which I like this. So in the vector tool, again, V on the keyboard, we are going to use splines. You want to use splines for your roadways. To begin with, you want to snap to terrain, and then we are going to go ahead and start with a spline. So click it roughly where you want it, and you're going to see you get 2 dots. This first dot is the starting point, and the second dot is the continuation point. So I want to go, you know what, just for ease of purpose, we're going to go this way. I apologize, I hit the wrong button on my keyboard. So we are going to be in the vector tool with V, and we're going to select our continuation point, and we're going to move it. And you want to move it if you have snap to terrain on, which you should. you want to move it by the dot, or you can move it by these, but that can get to be a little tedious. So we are going to put a dot there, a dot here, and we're just going to kind of follow this path a little bit. If you do a straight line from here to here, the road's going to follow that. So our road is going to follow this path that we've now made. And it is also going to adjust the height map of the terrain. It's going to cut into the terrain. So let's go ahead and go into our spline here. We are going to look for our generators folder. So I like to work out of the prefabs, WE generators, and then roads. And then there's different types of roads. We're just going to work in asphalt. And we're going to click and drag into that. The bigger your spline is, right? If this went all the way down here and moved around, it will take a long time. I like to have my roads kind of segmented a little bit, instead of that one big path. It just helps it run a little bit smoother when you're doing this. So if you notice here, this is now flattened from this line outwards each direction. You can click on the other dots and move them. So you kind of line things up. Now that you see what the road is doing, you can kind of line them up. All right. So to go over some basics of what are in the generator you just placed, we're going to go into its object properties. You've got, I don't think we want to mess with any of that. Nope. Nothing in script and terrain. So most of what you're going to be changing, messing around with is the adjust height map. So if you uncheck that, it goes back to normal. If you check it, it'll adjust the height map. The priority, let's see, does it give a description? So what happens, I haven't messed with this a whole lot, so let's go and, what does that do? Doesn't look like it did much there. That's all right. Fall off, start with, and the width. So start with is at what point past the generator does it allow the terrain to fall off. So if we change this to 1, it brings it in because it's when will this width start. So if we change it back to 2, it'll bring it out more. Now, how much width will it fall off? If we change that to 5, it brings it out more. Let's change it to 20. So you get the idea here. Let's just bring these back to normal. And then if you don't want any fall off, you can change it. I think you do have to have some. So if you change it to 0.1, notice what this is doing to the terrain here. So, there we go. All right. And we're just going to change it back to 2. So the road itself, do you want it to generate a road? Yes. Clearance, width of clearance by the road. I'm not sure what that means. I've not messed with that. Road width. Each of these generators are taking a texture and applying it to this roadway. So if you make your road wider, you're going to stretch out that texture. So try not to change this too much. You can change it. So let's just change it to 15. And it takes into account this width and all that still. So just be mindful that you will stretch out those textures. So we go into the road entity of the generator. This is where we're going to start to see other things we can change. Unsorted, type of road main, width. All right, so all I really change in here in my roads is road sort. Road sort is for when you have 2 roads that intersect and their textures overlay each other. So I'm going to just place another road down real fast. And you will see this road we first place is overlapping this road on the texture. So if I change the new road's road sort to 1, it gives it a higher priority. So the higher this number, the more priority it has to overlap what is underneath it. Per the Bohemia wiki, do not use mat sort bias. They say you can change it, but to not do it a lot. So I don't mess with that. So I just stick to road sort. And you see here that this is overlapping it. So what I like to do is, let's just say this is like my main roadway that will encompass the whole world here, right? I will set that to a higher number. So I'll set that to like 100. And then that way I know I can kind of work my way down from there and have some more leeway with other roads to be underneath them. So if you have a road that you don't want this, like this rigidness to this, what you can do is, again, go into its road entity and change its beginning and end piece to none. And it'll flatten it out. It'll make it more straight. I believe this was our beginning piece. So if we change that back to default, and let's go ahead and get rid of this. I'm sorry, this is a little unorganized here. It'll keep the beginning of it rigid, but then still keep the end of it. Now, if you select a spline and you reverse it, it does reverse where this rigidness is at, because this is now the beginning and that over here is now the end. All right. Let's see. There are different types of roads within each folder. I'm not going to go over what each one are. What I do want to go over is in the and these dots. I don't know what you want to call them, but I call them dots. If, let's just say you're looking at this road and you don't want this to be this big of a bump. There are a couple ways you can address this. You can try messing with this blue line and bringing it up and down. Notice how it'll still adjust it. So I'm just going to undo those. You can take this and then you can try to bring it down. But if you're in snap to terrain, it won't do that. So you need to uncheck it and then drag it down to where you want it. So then you also want to make sure you adjust that too, because that, if you look, will change the way the spline is. And so then we'll need to straighten that out. All right. The issue you're going to have with this is that if, let me think of the best way to explain this. Right now, the terrain looks like it's shaped and that it's there. But internally in the engine, the terrain is still shaped upwards. So if I can show you, actually, let me show you here. So if we turn off adjust height map, notice how it still has this bump in it. You did not actually shape the terrain like you think you did. So if we turn back on the height map and if you go into the terrain tool, so this button or Control T, select the generator, hit bake selection, hit yes, and you will now see that we can turn off the adjust height map, and this road has now baked its settings into the terrain where you don't need to leave this adjust height map on. Sometimes when a road, especially with its fall off, if you look, see it's giving you this here. this fall off, it doesn't let you smooth it all that great. But you can turn off the adjust height map. Oh, see, there we go. This is kind of what I was going to show you next. Even though you baked this, you can, and you turn off the height, or you do anything with the terrain around it, it's going to affect that terrain. So let's turn this back on. Let's go ahead and bake it. And we're going to leave it like it is here. We are going to scope it a little bit smaller. There we go. So let's sculpt with the adjust. We baked it. We turn the adjust height map off, and then we can sculpt a little bit. Man, why is it? Oh, my strength. So you can clean this up a little bit better. Not green. So I want to select a dot that makes the intersection turn green. We're going to add a dot. Oh, what just happened? All right. So we're going to move this out. There we go. And what you're seeing with the red is showing you that the road shape kind of conflicts with itself. It's too, the shape of it just isn't going to work. So you want to correct those red lines that come up. And usually it's just kind of reshaping it, like you saw me do. And then we're going to add another one here. And notice how that affected this again. Let's bring that out. Actually, let's bring that in. And then that, nope, that didn't work. There we go. All right, so now we can go back into this one. Actually, this is our main road. So let's do this one first. Adjust height map. Bake it. Go back to this one. Adjust height map. Bake it. And there you go. Now the road is a lot of a smoother incline up to here. So again, we can, if we want this to be underneath this, come into its road entity. I'll make its road sort 1. Or I'm sorry, 0. I thought we changed this. Why is that not working? All right, that should work. For some reason, it's not working right now. Welcome to ARMA. Let's see. All right, that should do it for this video. I believe I went over everything I wanted to go over. Hopefully this helps you out as far as getting started with your roads, or making sure, or I'm sorry, editing what you have in your map and making sure they're where you want them to be. The one thing I will say is when you're doing roads, test them out. You know, get in the world, drive the road. See if it's bumpy, see if the inclines are too much. I had a pretty steep incline on my map, and it was so steep that the BTR wouldn't drive up it. So test it out, make sure what you're doing is actually workable, it's playable in the game. Again, I mentioned in another video, see what you're doing and how it looks in the game. You know, that looks like it's all right, but you know, it looks different when you're actually in the game playing. You'll look at it compared to its character's height. You know, look at the inclines, the declines, you know, just get a feel for the map. Don't be afraid to load in and check it out and see, because it is a whole different perspective. I didn't do that when I first started, and I'm having to go back to some of my areas and fix some of this stuff. So thank you for checking this out. If you have an idea for a video, or if anything in this is incorrect, let me know. I may update this at some point, so do keep an eye out for that if I decide to. Have a great rest of your day.